Just finished my first, I don't know, hour and a half of getting the stringers ready for repair. And what I'm planning on doing is leaving one side of the old fiberglass cloth intact and leaving a little bit of the bottom intact. And I plan on using the Venicell. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It is a foam. It is compatible with all polyester resins, and it is reinforced with fibers, and it will not absorb water and it won't rot. So that's the latest and the greatest. I'm going to go with that. It's kind of pricey, but I don't need a huge amount. So typically when guys do this, they grind the glass all the way down flat and they start new. But I've got a nice little recess here where a bulkhead can go. And if I glue the bulkhead in there, that's just that many more layers of glass that I don't have to put. So when they make the boat and all the layers of glass are going on before it's 100% cured, that's a better bond than what I'm going to get, because the boat is obviously cured. It's 30 years old or more. So I have, I'm going to leave it in a little trough, and I'm going to attempt to get all the wood out with the pressure washer, because it's just mud. It's totally rotten. Probably get it out with my finger, actually. I did find two spots. See the light color down there? That's not rotten. That's amazing. Everything else is rotten. So I'm going to get a hammer and chisel, clean off the part of the wood that's sticking, and then get the pressure washer and clean it, and then I'll have a lot of sanding to do.
A little shaky camera work here. I'm holding the camera with one hand and trying to scrape out some of this muck with the other. This big chisel is called a slick. It's not meant to be hit with a hammer, it's just meant to be pushed, and it's incredibly sharp. When I was doing similar work on the houseboat a few years back, I put a pretty good divot in my leg with this thing, so I'm being a little more careful this time. Then the other little tool is called a reefing hook, and it is for pulling out caulk between wooden deck boards on a wooden decked ship. I spent a lot of hours with this thing in my hand when I redid the decks on my Grand Banks wooden trawler. So to get to this point, I've taken the angle grinder and cut the top maybe 1 inch off the stringer where it's all lumpy, and then I scored the inside face of the stringer, or I cut through the inside fiberglass face with the grinder. So now the fiberglass is intact on the far side for me, but there's nothing left on the near side. It just falls off.
So it looks like the stringer was made out of two 1x6s just stacked on top of each other. So today is sanding day. Big areas, I'll use the big 7-inch grinder with a sanding attachment. And for smaller areas, I have the Makita disc sander, which is a wonderful tool. And for smaller areas yet, I have the belt sander. So it's pretty cool right now. The sun's not really up. As soon as 7 o'clock rolls around and I'm legal, I'm going to start grinding.
So the purpose of all this sanding, besides making me feel my age, is to, one, get rid of almost 40 years of dirt, and 2 to etch the surface of the existing glass. This is real coarse grit. I think it's 24. So I'm putting millions of little scratches in the surface of this glass. So when we come with the new polyester resin, when we're putting new fabric down, it's got a little bit of a chemical bond, but it also has some mechanical bond. It'll get up in all these scratches and it'll help it to hold and not come loose. So if the weather wasn't so doggone hot, this would still be an unpleasant job.
This is the eye in the front of the boat. Should be like one of the strongest things on the boat. But I noticed rust streaks coming down the front of the hull. So I figured maybe they had a stainless 304 plate that sometimes stains. And I come on the inside and there was just a plain old steel plate that just fell apart as soon as I touched it. And I went, geez, that's kind of cheapo. And then, but I thought, well, you got 2 more inches of glass. That's pretty strong. And oh no, that's totally hollow because they had a block of wood behind that. So the strongest part of the whole boat, there was nothing behind it. But I'll fix it. Yep, pretty crappy. I cut these 2 pieces out of some of the boat that I tore up. These are going to go in the front inside of the hull where there used to be a piece of wood. And I'm going to epoxy these in place. And once the epoxy cures and I get my resin, I don't have any resin right now, I'll glass over it. And then I'll drill through the front, establish the holes back. And then I got this piece of 3/16 stainless from the shop. It's a good 1/4 inch thick. This will go on the inside. And if this cleat ever pulls out, it's going to take the whole front half of the boat with it because it's not going to fail.
I'm going to use a lot of the old fiberglass that I cut out of the boat. I like using this stuff. In this case, it's just plugging some old through-hole holes. It's kind of a non-structural application. I'll use this on the exterior, glue it. When the glue dries, I'll grind and bevel the interior and put a couple of layers of cloth. And I'm sure the purists are rolling their eyes at me, but it's going to be okay, trust me.
Picked up this piece of foam at a local roofing supply place. I really don't know anything about it. They gave it to me. They keep this in stock, so I'm going to do some experiments with it and see how it holds up with the polyester resin. And it looks like it has like a paper backing on it, but it's very, very thin. So I'm going to try sealing it with some polyester. Well, just play around with this stuff. If it works, it could save me many hundreds of dollars from buying the Divinycell, which I can't get here. The closest place they have it is in Florida. Freight's going to be as much as the foam, and the foam is pretty pricey. So let's see what we can do with this. I've got a drainage problem right now. My boat is out in the weather and it's raining and every compartment fills up. I think I'm going to drill holes to connect them together. That will help me in the meantime before we foam them. Once we foam the compartments, quote unquote, they shouldn't fill up with water, although they were full of water when I brought the boat home. So I'm not sure how to deal with this, but for right now I'm going to drill some holes so that at least it'll all drain to the middle here, and that's we'll go from there. I'm going to do a little water absorption test. I got one piece of foam with no treatment, one that just has 2 coats of the polyester resin, and one that has a coat of polyester resin and a layer of chop mat on both sides. And I'm going to sink these in a bucket of water for a couple of days and see what happens. I've been doing some experiments. This one is a sheet of the fiberglass from the boat that was the side of a stringer that I cut out. And I glued it to the foam with some chop mat that will hold a lot of resin. And I just wanted to see how good it would hold. And I wanted to cut it in half and see what the joint looked like. Looks like it's holding pretty good. So this is what one side of the stringer, if I use this foam, will look like. It'll be a new layer of chop mat, and it'll be stuck to the existing glass. The existing glass is pretty thin, so I'll probably put another layer of glass. Did some more tests with the foam, the roofing foam. On this piece, I put a layer of chop mat and 2 layers of 19-ounce woven on each side. And I put it between blocks and I stood on it, and it deflected a little bit, but not much. Pretty strong. And then I grabbed the end and just pried it apart. And what failed is the foam itself. The glue joint did not fail. So, good and bad. So I was able to rip it in half, mostly. And the glue joint did not fail. It failed in the foam itself. That was the weak link. And then on another one, this is where I glued, this is the fiberglass that the stringers are made out of. This is one side that I had removed. And I glued it onto a piece of foam. And then I cut it in half so I could look at the glue joint. And it looks really good. It's almost perfect. If I try to break it, it's not breaking at the glue joint. So this is encouraging. I still have the pieces out there soaking in the water, and I want to look at those before I decide on whether or not to put this in the boat. It's kind of a big deal. Well, my pseudo-scientific research on this foam board was a success because it's a failure, or it was a failure because it was a success. But either way, I'm not going to use it. I put these 3 pieces in a bucket of water for 2 days, and they all gained weight substantially. I knew this one would because this is just unfinished paper. This one did too, and this one was sealed with resin all the way around twice. And this one did too, and it was sealed with resin and had chop mat on both sides. So if it gains weight in just 2 days, then that obviously is not a good closed cell, or it may not even be a closed cell at all. And the strength test was fair, but no, it's too much to gamble. If the stringers fail, the whole boat's wrecked. So I'm gonna again pursue to try to buy some marine grade foam board. There's just no retailers around here for it, but I'll keep looking.
Okay, found a distributor for Divinicel in New Orleans, which is just an hour-and-a-half drive. I'm going to go pick it up actually this morning. So the next few days we should actually be getting some stringers glassed in. I have some glass and I have some resin, so we can get started. And it looks like the tropical storm stuff is gone, so no rain forecast for next week, which will be a big change because it rained every day this week. So Thanks for watching.